biggest counter-terrorism operation in almost 2 years. 12 men have been arrested, though I understand one could be released soon. Where yesterday there were dramatic armed raids, today there were meticulous searches, as a small army of senior crime officers set to work in Manchester, Liverpool and Clitheroe in Lancashire. Once again, intelligence had suggested terrorists had been planning an attack on Britain. One source close to the investigation told me they feared it was very big and would have been very soon.
All cultures are equal. Not all values are equal.
Now, there are Democrats who remember this as well.
When a TV cameraman came up to me and asked me some questions, I told him right off the bat, I said, I'm really glad to be home, I'm proud of my service, but I'm against the war in Iraq. If every soldier comes home and they just say that they're glad to be home, then no one's going to know the truth about what's going on in Iraq.
Flags are bits of colored cloth that governments use first to shrink wrap people's brains, and then as ceremonial shrouds to bury the dead.
The U.S. military as an institution is very corrupt and is built upon spreading death. To me, the idea of having a force like the U.S. Army participating in nation building is just asinine. I mean, we're nation destroyers. That's what we're trained to do.
We were all congratulated after we had our first kills. My company commander personally congratulated me. This is the same individual who has stated that whoever gets their first kill by stabbing them to death will get a 4-day pass when we return from Iraq.
An amendment so clearly necessary and rational, such a no-brainer that no one could ever possibly vote against this. Unless you're a Republican in the 111th Congress. Oh boy, in this Congress, taxpayer-subsidized rape is apparently a controversial issue. Senator Franken's amendment would withhold government contracts from companies that prohibit employees alleging workplace sexual assault and discrimination from taking their cases to court.
Place, man. It's fucking world famous now. As far as I'm concerned, they're all guilty. You know what? They should have kicked Saddam out themselves. Instead, we're there doing the fucking job. Fuck them, dude. Anyone with a fucking rag on their head is very girl. I'm like 15 years old. See it, Mike. I didn't touch yet. She was fucking crying. Oh. So, guys, he started hunting around for $50 a shot. I think at the end of the day, you know, he made like $500 before she hung herself.
Four soldiers walked through the trees and approached this house. Here, according to specialist James Barker's statement, he and another soldier took it in turns to rape the 14-year-old girl. In another room, the girl's parents and 5-year-old sister were shot dead.
Barker's statement said after Green had killed the 2 adults and the little girl, he came into the room where the teenager was being sexually assaulted. He had an AK-47 rifle in his hand. He said, "They're all dead. I killed them." He put the weapon down, raped the 14-year-old, and then shot her dead too.
Before they left, they poured kerosene over the girl's body and set it alight. They returned to their checkpoint, and Barker said he grilled some chicken wings.
4 years ago, at the age of 19, Ms. Jamie Lee Jones signed a contract to become an employee of KBR, then a Halliburton subsidiary. Ms. Jones arrived in Iraq in July of 2005 and was housed in barracks with 400 men and only a few women. 4 days after her arrival, Ms. Jones was drugged and gang raped. After Ms. Jones reported the rape to her supervisors, she was locked in a shipping container with an armed guard and prohibited any contact with the outside world. They locked her in a container.
According to the Center for Defense Information, 51% of your federal income taxes go specifically to military spending, not healthcare or education, but war.
Thank you, little puppy.
How dare any American criticize the actions of legitimate resistance to illegal occupation? Our so-called enemies in Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, our other colonies around the world, and our inner cities here at home are struggling against the oppressive hand of empire, demanding respect for their humanity. They are labeled insurgents or terrorists for resisting rape and pillage by the white establishment, but they are our brothers and sisters in the struggle for justice. The civilians at the other end of our weapons don't have a choice.
Now, was Charlie Sheen ranting like a lunatic about the September 11th attacks. Now word comes...
I know what I was doing?
Shut up. I'll tell you something. Disrespect. Why did you have to tell him you were an atheist if you didn't have any trouble reading the oath? Why didn't you just shut up? What Jimmy Carter should do is privately give Mr. Bush's opinion and shut up publicly. That would be best for the country. But it is our duty as loyal Americans to shut up once the fighting begins. Once the war against Saddam begins, we expect every American to support our military, and if they can't do that, to shut up.
All he's got in 6.5 years that I misspoke, that I labeled a poker war to Peabody. He writes it in his book, he tries to make me out to be lying.
No, that's shut up.
Given power to give breath to the image of the first beast.
George Parr, you are an investment banker.
I am.
Yes. And as such, you have your fingers right on the pulse of the financial market.
Yeah, very much so, yes.
And during the summer, there's been a great deal of turbulence and volatility
in the market, yes. Tremendous, yes, tremendous.
Yes, and what has caused that?
Well, you have to remember two things about the markets. One is that they are made up of very sharp and sophisticated people who, these are the greatest brains in the world. And the second thing you have to remember is that the financial markets, to use the common phrase, are driven by sentiment.
The so-called war on terror is a cover for our military aggression to gain control of the resources of Western Asia. This is sending the poor of this country to kill the poor of those Muslim countries. This is trading blood for oil. This is genocide, and to most of the world, we are the terrorists.